Looks like bottom.
Is that the bottom coming into sight?
That is.
Excellent. All right. So, good morning, afternoon, or evening, all. For the shore-based scientists and for folks who might be following along at home, we are here at Fina Nagu Caldera A. The last two dives have been at other Fina Nagu calderas further south. We have been moving northward in what we assume is an age progression, so this should be the youngest of the Fina Nagu calderas. This morning, for us, we're going to be diving
Yeah, it looks like
on
it
these
really rises
things that
more
look like
to
two
our
little
port
resurgent
side.
domes
Yeah.
in the middle of the caldera. We're going to be moving up the slope
Nav,
of
can
one
you,
dome, hopping
push out
over to the
my
next
sonar
one,
a
and
little
then
bit?
possibly scaling the caldera wall as we move towards the end of our dive. So follow along. We'll have a great time.
Want to reduce
we are
range?
at a depth of about
Increase range, actually.
2360. The temperature is 2 degrees on the
I'm
bottom
sorry.
of the seafloor.
Yeah, reduce range.
And our
There, perfect, thank
oxygen
you.
level is 3
All right, I'm all stopped.
milligrams per liter. What is
About
that?
17
Yep,
off
okay.
ground. 14
Salinity
delta.
is 34.6 PSUs,
Dialing in
practical
Z5s
salinity
here.
units.
So generally the top should be east of us.
So, yeah, it looks like most of it's to my
In
port.
terms of geology, I'm seeing what I
More
think
facing you.
are
Do you want me to turn that way?
solid fragments
well, we don't.
maybe
We want to make sure we don't accidentally climb. I guess there's two options to climb. It's either the first peak or the other peak. So if we're off a little, we don't want to start.
Okay. So do you want to shoot for 675? Go to the small angle.
It's a tough one. Most likely, I guess, we're
Compared to
probably
the start
down
of yesterday's dive, these
here a
look,
little bit.
and
So that's why I
pretty
talked to
crummy
our
in
port.
terms of rocks. They
That
might
makes
be
sense.
So we could
older or
just
were
climb the
too
local
far,
high
but we can
as long as we
perhaps-
never turn.
They also look
anywhere
like they're a little
west.
bit
I
orangey
think
if you
we'll
look
be okay.
especially
Does
on the
that-
bottoms
Yeah.
of some of these rocks.
So I'll turn it face you
And
at
the
about
orange,
50.
Yeah,
as we
so
talked about in previous
let's
dives,
climb the,
could actually indicate that there's hydrothermal alteration.
so actually stand by
so
on that. First we'll
that
check
may
in,
actually be a
see
good
if we
thing.
want to zoom on anything.
Copy that.
Then we'll turn to the local high, as long as it's generally eastward.
Especially, look at the top of
Yeah,
the
I
screen.
agree.
Yeah, at the top of the screen and coming off on the left, some of those are really orange. And if that is related to the rock and not some weird piece of biology, that does sort of
You guys happy
tend
with
to
a
scream out
bailout of
hydrothermal.
180? We want to change that. I'm going
So
to notify Bridge.
That might be good
I
for
think
us.
that's good.
Yeah. Good? Okay. I'll let them know real quick.
Watch lead, this is pilot.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're
Bridge, this is RV nav.
Oh. I'm sorry, pilot, what?
Just letting you know our bailout is 180 and we are on the bottom.
Wait, why do I hear nothing? I'm sorry, what?
Thank you, Bridge.
okay. We are on the bottom. We're all set up.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at our sonars, it looks like we came down a little south of the center of the ridge.
Okay.
But we're thinking we'll just head up the local high anywhere to the east, and then we'll definitely get to the top of the little mound.
Yeah, I don't think we care what direction, like
Yeah.
exactly on what track. We just want to head to the
Yep.
to the center of that high on
So
the
we'll
east.
just head up and
Yep.
make sure it's eastward, not westward, and we'll get
Yeah.
there.
We'll start with the east, and then we'll head over to the west at
Yeah,
some point.
exactly.
Perfect.
So, yeah, free to zoom and
Can we, I know there's a tunicate there, so we should probably zoom right on that to begin with. At
Okay.
least, okay, I assume it's a tunicate, and Diva walked out, so my hope is it's
well,
a tunicate.
video. Let's zoom in.
Yes.
Turning left.
Oh, yes, okay, I hear from the shore-based scientist that it is a tunicate, so good, I did that one right. And then when we're done zooming on this, I'd really like to zoom on some of the orange-ish sediment that we see underneath the rock up on the upper left of the screen.
Okay.
Did we say this was a predatory tunicate?
Well, I said it was,
Magneticopia?
No, I said it was a tunicate because
Tilting up
you think
for
I know anything
Yeah,
else about
so
it.
this is the same sock puppet one that we
Yeah.
saw the other day.
It's awesome.
It is one of my favorite animals in the deep sea, 100%.
Can we put the lasers on it?
Yeah, could you go out a bit, video?
There we go. So it's a little over 10 centimeters. Those are big. I
Oh
didn't
my god,
realize
cute
that.
size.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so basically it just kind of waits for unsuspecting animals to swim into its
Any
sort
other
of
shots you want of this?
mouth, which we can't just see. The mouth is to the bottom. Yeah, facing to the bottom. And it kind of operates in like a Venus flytrap sort of manner.
Got it. All right, so when we're done imaging this, if we could zoom out and look at some of those orangish, especially up there
All
to
right,
the left.
We'll go up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn to match you better, pilot.
Okay.
Now that I have a good look at that
Where did you find
sediment
that?
sort of around all of these,
Thank you so much.
Volcanic classic. There's a lot of dark,
Thanks,
fragmented,
Abraham.
angular bits in there.
I tend to agree with you. It looks a lot like what we saw. So this is generally what we're looking at right now. Pretty indicative of either a hydrothermal alteration or
Okay, video. Free
simply
to zoom.
exceptionally crusty rock. All right, so as we look at this, you can tell it just looks super jumbled up, and it's
Is
just
that like iron deposits?
that's probably what it is. And that's, I mean, hydrothermal activity, there's lots and lots of metals in there, and that's probably what we're looking at. Which means we should probably head up the hill and see what else we can
Yeah,
find.
that's a good sign. I think that's a really
They
good
want to
sign.
go on this better lit
You can
stuff on
almost
the
see
back.
like, yeah, sort of like a,
left a
like
little.
a pocket. It looks
yeah.
like. And I agree, there
Probably
might be
take
some
a right
there,
remnants
video.
of like ropey
Sorry, do you want
flow
swing
to
arms
the
adjusted
left.
at all, or are you fine with lighting right now?
Oh yeah, look at
That's
that.
good for now.
Copy.
Can you, yeah, keep zooming on this. See how it looks like it's just like a
It's
crust?
coming left.
No,
That
see, I
de-
think it looks like the inside of
Right,
like a tube.
this definitely looks hydrothermal.
Okay, there we are.
For sure, like a cast of a cobble
Exactly,
that was there
yeah.
and coated in this thing, and now the cobble has fallen away.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so maybe we should try heading up the slope and seeing if we can find wherever this guy came from.
All right. Whenever you're ready, video. So,
Yeah,
co-pilot and nav, I've
that's a
been
great idea.
thinking if we, with the ground all the way port, that actually is to the west.
Yeah, now
So
that I've
we,
changed one.
yeah, so we actually must be looking at that,
Yeah.
which makes sense, or maybe. So we should probably just generally head east, even if it's slightly downhill.
I think so too.
And,
Yeah.
just see what happens.
You see a kind of ropey pattern in the sediment between these
But you can drop a target there, like, you know,
sort
iron,
of ropey. I don't know if that's
whatever.
bioturbation or the way that
They may
the
come back to
volcanoclastic
us.
sediment is kind of flowing in one particular direction.
Yeah, I wonder if it's.
Everywhere.
I think those are both really good hypotheses. I mean, certainly the stuff we're looking at now in the center, to me, that looks more like I don't want a ripple mark, or as it's flown down as it slid down the side of the hill, that it's sort of the fines have kind of moved away and you get some of the darker things. But the other ones that look a little bit ropey, I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
090.
This is
let's
definitely
do s-
not
Sirius is
the
heading like
beautiful
080,
untouched
80,
geology we saw yesterday.
so we can still be going a little bit up. So watch lead, this is pilot.
You know,
We
these are
actually-
fragmented and altered. Sure.
Going uphill from where we were is actually almost due west. So we're in a local terrain there that is actually rising to the west. So we actually have to turn away from it. We dropped a target there. So on our way back in an hour or two, we can pass directly there and start going uphill.
Perfect, thanks.
Yep.
I guess when we were looking at those, I think we want to go due east and then due west. So we want to roll up. We want to go up the
So you're
Yes.
happy with 80?
the dome
Okay.
to the
I
east,
think in 50 meters or
and then we're going to try to hit the top of that, and then we'll come back down. Maybe come back down to the saddle, especially
30
because that's
to
where we
start?
found stuff,
Yeah,
and then we'll
well,
go
pretty far
due
out.
west.
Oh yeah, you are.
So yeah, let's do 40, compromise.
Yeah, sounds good.
40 meters coming up.
And we're at 23. Our lag should start being less because the last few days we were like at 33, right?
Bridge, this is ROV nav.
So, co-pilot, you're good. While I'm waiting, I'll just zoom in on some stuff down here.
Yeah, I can come down a little bit and give you a little more tether. So.
Video, want to zoom on this little fish?
Yeah, I'd like to request a ship move, 40 meters,
pretty far.
bearing 080 at a speed of 0.2 knots.
Okay, you can go in a little further.
The bearing on that was 080. Thank you, Bridge.
So this fish is a macro-urid or a rat tail.
She's evasive.
Now, have we seen that in? Are they always that color, or are they sometimes different colors?
No, they're always kind of this color. And I'm trying to get a hold of which one this might be. Maybe another Kumba. We saw Kumba yesterday.
Yeah, so some of the shallow water macrurids can have banding and spots and a variety of other colors. They're usually a brown, copper, or dark colored. You don't get too many blues and greens, but there are also some shallow water, very
Those are beautiful.
silvery, almost iridescent species as well.
Thank you.
Okay, let's let him go, video.
All right, so let's see. So, pilot.
Yes.
I think we'd like to try to, like, as you know,
Quickly as possible.
yeah, make haste up to the top of this one.
Okay.
And we realize that we're the ones who slow you down, so we'll try not to make you stop every 2 seconds.
All right.
I think we'd like to try to just get to the top and see what there is, and if there's nothing, move back down to that saddle where we saw hydrothermal activity
Sure.
and start again.
The ship is on its way. It's
Perfect.
about a 4 or 5 minute delay today with this depth.
Okay. Look at that. There's more of that.
Yeah, orange.
Yep. So staining is really one of the things that we tend to use to try to get ourselves on track when we're looking for hydrothermal activity. Once we start seeing the staining, we do tend to follow it.
Video, can you zoom
And then
on
you
this
normally
orange?
find bacterial mats, which
Right,
are sort of
if they're
white
active.
glowing. Yeah.
Now, this could be extinct hydrothermal
It's true.
activity, in which case we will not see mats.
But if we do, you will hear jumping up and down.
Yes.
In the back of that.
You happen to be sitting with 2 shipboard scientists who are both hydrothermal vent people. So, not that we don't love all of our geology and biology
Okay.
equally,
Video.
but we have a special place in our heart for hydrothermal activity.
Yeah, it's definitely rising here, so I guess we're just kind of maybe a little south of the saddle. Because it's rising on Sirius's port.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
Maybe something like that.
yeah, and ahead.
I don't think I'm moving quite yet.
No, still out here.
So I think, as we mentioned before, these are the sediments
Just
between the
zigzag
rocks
around.
are likely to be volcanoclastic. And we're seeing definitely more
Now
of
that
that
we're,
ripple
waiting
pattern.
here.
Oh, hello, fish again.
Is it the same one?
Looks like it.
Yeah, I think it is the same one, but if we could... No, we don't need to zoom on that. We can just continue uphill.
But we are waiting if you
I
want
was
to see
going
this.
to say,
Yeah, let's
I was
zoom
like,
on that
we're
stalked
facing
animal
north,
then.
so...
Yeah, I'm just zigzagging around waiting for
Yeah,
Sirius.
that stalked white animal, just to
Yeah.
the left bottom, please.
And actually the geology as well. It'd be nice to see what's making up this pattern on the seafloor.
The more I see of that rock field, the more I'm convinced that it's a talus slope and the flow is uphill somewhere.
I heard talus slope, but what was the next thing?
Okay, video, you're free
I
to
said the
zoom.
more that I look at the rock field, the more I'm convinced that it's a talus slope and potentially the flow is farther uphill if it's still intact anywhere.
I would agree.
Okay, so this is a sea pen, which is a type of cnidarian. And we know that because you can't see the base. If we pan down a little bit, you can just see that the base
Yeah.
actually goes into the sediment. So it's kind of burrowed down there, the peduncle. But you can see that they're easily confused with octocorals because of their polyps and other
back up
things.
for
And this
another
one,
shot.
we saw quite a couple of these. I think it was the day before yesterday with the commensal ophiuroid. They just always, this seems to have this commensal ophiuroid living on it.
And for the non-biologists in the group, what is a peduncle?
The peduncle is essentially the base of the
All right, I think I'm starting to see a little bit
of the
of it.
CPAN that kind of holds it, anchors it in place, I guess.
Ship is just over halfway through its move.
Looking at.
So the thing I was sort of pointing out yesterday, I'm pretty sure it's the same one, is even though it's completely transparent, you can see the polyp sort of extending out from sort of a sheath or a little tube that connects up to the main stalk. And if you look at that sheath, you can see a spine on the sheath that's sort of pointing up toward the tentacles of the polyp. And that's a diagnostic feature for at least some of these sea pens. The other thing that's really interesting, you can see very clearly, is because it's so transparent, you can see the actual skeletal structure along the stem, which is called the pen, right inside the transparent tissue, and that's what gives them their name.
So I've just also been corrected, my first error for the day, sure not the last, by Scott France from the University of Louisiana Lafayette, who is a
Okay,
Nigerian
Any other
expert.
shots
Thank you,
want?
Scott. That, in fact, sea pens are octocorals. They're just a different order within octocorals than a lot of the pronoids and other sort of corals we've been seeing.
Well, that's great to know. Sure you won't forget that again.
The
Alright, thank you,
interesting
video.
thing about
Look
it
at
is that each of these that we saw yesterday and this one again
probably even a little
today
more
has
tender now.
one and only one ophiuroid on it. And so I suspect that he's keeping any competitors
zoom
at
in the
bay. He's
ROV
playing
sonar
that
to maybe
CPN
30.
for himself.
Okay, Copilot, I'll come back to 080.
And there's definitely a lot of...
These ripple-like features of the scheme.
Are you feeling
It
any
looks
current?
like sort of the
Not really.
ridge axis of the ripple is concentrated in the white particles that make up the volcanoclastic or the sediment here. And then there's like a fan of dark along the shallow sloping backside of the ripple are concentrated black particles, and then in between each of the
Yeah, now we're starting to see
ripples
a
themselves,
nice
it looks
uphill
sort of
feature
like
of
unsorted
east and
sediment, sort of a
Sirius.
mix of white
So
and
maybe
tan
our
and
next
black
move will be able to be that
particles.
way.
Yeah.
Ship is in
Thank you
position.
very much.
Okay.
So we're going to head up slope a little bit. We're going to check out to see whether we can find perhaps the source of the volcanoclastics, or the source of the outcrop, or the source of the hydrothermal activity. So we've got a lot of things that we could be wandering up the slope towards. Oh, there's more. Yeah, look at how orange that is.
Video, can you zoom on the small creature in the center? Water column?
I see what you're talking about.
He has a little glow.
What is that?
Perhaps it's a ctenophore, but it's missing its tentacles, the two characteristic tentacles. I mean, one looks shorter than the other. Yeah, Chris is agreeing with me and saying ctenophore. Oh no, it looks
You
like
can
both
see
of them.
the iridescences, the little whatever they
Oh,
call
yeah.
are pulsating. out of
Oh,
it.
yes. That's cool. cilia. Thank you, Bruce.
It's really coming right
Yeah.
up to us.
Yeah, I just got a scoot in. Let's try that.
Okay,
Can't go down any further, but
that's all right.
So this is probably
Copilot, can you get
actually
lasers
a
off?
good observation here, because this is probably what the larvae of those benthic ctenophores we've been seeing on
Okay,
the
I'm pretty
sponges
stable here.
actually looks like. So you actually see sort of the classic ctenophore pelagic stage in the larvae of those benthic ctenophores.
And what Scott
Yeah,
France
it's
was
too
just
closest
saying
for me
on
to
the
focus
chat
on now.
was that
Okay.
the tentacles, the two tentacles that a lot of the ctenophores have, are actually retractable, like fishing lines.
that's
You know,
your
they string
closest
them out
focus.
into the water column, catch particles on them, and then retract them and ingest those
now he
particles
seems
for
to be
food.
Moving away a
And so
little bit.
basically, this one may just, even though the tentacles are quite short, they may just be withdrawn because
There.
he's nomming on some of those particles right now. Okay, this is great, Pilot. If we could just continue uphill when you're ready, that would
All right.
be great.
You happy video?
Yep,
Never got a really good shot of him glowing, but
it's okay. It was just so tiny.
yeah. Okay, coming up. All right, well, once I'm ahead, I think we can do another 40 meters.
Yeah.
Which way do you think is uphill now, Copilot?
I think 7075 looks pretty good. I'm at 70 right now.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
40,
Yeah, 40 at 70 now.
coming up. Bridge, this is ROV nav.
Video, I want to get a zoom here.
Absolutely.
Another one of these guys.
So this is a Caridian shrimp. We've seen quite a couple of these on our dives. And this one, I can't quite tell if it's got the rostral spine because the sort of spades are missing. Spades are blocking it, sorry. So if we were to look at him from above, the two projections off of the just below
Bridge,
his
this
eyes
is ROV nav.
are actually big spades.
Oh my.
Quite shaped like
Fast.
triangles.
He just took off.
It's a nice
It
exit.
could be an
Yes.
Aristeid, which is the family, but they just swim extremely
Call that good.
beautifully.
Okay, coming up, Copilot.
Yep.
So it looked like we're getting into more outcrop and a little bit less sediment. So as we trundle our
Where
way
the
up
talus
this slope.
looks like it's increasing in density, we might not be quite at the outcrop yet.
That's true.
So the fragments in the talus slope looking larger, suggesting that we might be getting closer to the source.
I don't
of
know,
all
this-
of the
This
fragments.
might actually be intact, that little piece right there that we just passed over.
Bridge, this is ROV nav.
But I agree with you. I think this is still mostly tailless. Looks like a little pillow fragment down at the bottom. Just wandering off screen. Is that another whip coral or is that something different?
So this is not a sea pen.
Okay, video. Free to zoom. Tilting up.
This is likely an alcynation, which is a type of octocoral,
That's full.
Great.
or a gorgoniid. Gorgonia. What am I talking about? Gorgonid. And this is an isidid or a bamboo coral. And you can see again the zoom on this camera is just fantastic. On each of the polyps, you can see the tentacles beautifully, and then between each tentacle, you can see those intertentacular spines. And Scott's saying that this is the same bamboo coral that we were seeing yesterday.
okay whenever you're done with this video.
All right. If we have time, I'll get a quick establishing.
Of course. There you go. And Copilot, after this shot, we'll do lasers.
Copy.
Can you get those on?
Let me know when.
Go ahead.
Lasers coming on.
Okay. There they are.
Oh yeah, I see.
Full wide.
Excellent. Okay. Everyone clear?
Clear.
Let's go up the slope.
Now, if you're able to get a hold of Bridge.
Onward, up the slope.
Great.
So that move is called in?
Yes, move is called in.
Excellent. Got 15 minutes.
Cross your fingers for that.
In a talus field like this, if the rock fragments are getting larger, probably we're getting closer to the
Looks like
source
there's something
of the original
white.
flow.
Yeah, I don't think I
You can see
need
maybe
it right now, really.
Got it.
between,
Push maybe?
even though the density maybe has gone down
What
of these
it is.
individual rock
Yep.
fragments, and the
Yeah.
sediment in between, it looks sort of coarser, which suggests maybe, again, we're getting closer to the source as we move up slope.
I'll just creep up a little more video so I don't scare him.
Under Roger.
Okay. You can
And
So this
go
is
in.
like a halosaur, which I think we saw one of
keep
yesterday, and I
creeping
think Bruce was
closer.
saying this is
Roger.
Aldrovandia.
Do you want me to take camera at all, pilot?
Maybe in a sec.
Yeah.
So far. You could come out a little wider video.
This
Yep.
is a
Actually, move it in.
tiny eel. It's a relative of the true eels, but it differs. You can see a small little fin on the back. The true eels have a long fin on the back. This also has pelvic fins on the belly, but they're folded up. You can't see them. There are dark colored
Okay,
species
going in a bit
this
further.
genus,
Okay.
Aldrovandia, and light colored species. This is one of the light colored ones. There seems to be two possibilities in this part of the world.
Oh.
Aldrovandia athenis,
Didn't want a close up.
which is
Oh, we just hit the
widespread,
crowd.
found all around the world. Whoops, there it goes.
Alright, are we full wide?
Full wide.
Okay.
And then the Aldrovandia Ross, which strikes from the Philippines and is also known from the Indian. And so I said to put a request out to the experts on this group so that we can get a better
Yeah.
identification.
The fish is keeping its
To my
distance.
knowledge,
I see him swimming off in the Sirius cam. He's pretty far out there now.
Great, thank you, Bruce.
There's an idea of the slope we're
And one
going
of our
up.
other scientists,
Yeah, it's
shore-based
about
scientists, Mary Jo
45.
Brounts,
That's
had been talking about how
Angle.
the talus generally changes size, and actually so do the sediments. As we move closer to what we think could be the outcrop or the eruptive vent, the pieces will be larger, the sediment will be larger. As we are further away, where it's, the distal ends, generally
How
things
much
tend to be
farther
finer
for
and smaller.
D2 to the peak?
And we've seen this on previous dives. We actually went up a talus slope on a couple of dives
Ship is
ago,
halfway through
and
its
we really
move.
saw that very
Oh, okay.
dramatically. We started out with very small pieces of rock, and we moved into larger and larger pieces of rock before reaching the outcrop area. This one is a little harder to see simply because it's kind of covered in these volcanic plastics. It's not easy to tell what the original lava morphology was and whether any of this is in place or not.
It's also true that it doesn't need to, the size sorting of the telescope doesn't need to increase
Copilot,
sort
if you
of
want to
uniformly across the whole
start
surface of
working with the
cone,
swing arms, do the
because
normal
the flows
lower.
Go ahead,
take
Bridge.
place in a very
Partway out.
specific direction coming
Absolutely.
down the side of
Looks like we have some time.
the cone that was traveling up, and maybe just 10 meters to the right, there was no flow there, and you will not see a talus field as a result.
Very good point. Very good point. So it's interesting. We saw some of that hydrothermal alteration, or what we thought was hydrothermal alteration, towards the bottom in that saddle. And we haven't really seen all that much as we're moving up the slope. So that may mean that the hydrothermal activity is not on this particular piece of the dome. Or, oh wait, what's that? It's kind of orange.
Where?
On the bottom left.
Oh yeah, just a little more.
If you can zoom, but don't stop. See, as soon as I say something, I'm wrong.
Quick zoom video.
It's like science.
That's
Oh
good.
yeah, look at that.
Do you want your uppers out at all?
Thank you, pilot.
Deploy those.
Okay, whenever you're clear, video.
These guys are pretty heavily sedimented.
So the ship stopped a few minutes ago.
No, it's still almost done with its
still
move.
going, okay.
They were just radio checking.
Radio check. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's got about 10 meters left, not
Could
even.
we have a zoom on these wood corals, please?
Of course.
In this conversation about talus fields, I'd point out that if we were to go maybe directly up slope from the view we're seeing now, maybe up to the right-hand corner, we might have a chance at approaching a lava flow just from the way that the talus field looks right here.
Very good point, and we should definitely try to do that. What we tend to do on these dives is, even though we like to say we're moving up slope, we tend to do a lot of swinging, panning left and right, so that we can look for animals, we can look for interesting biology and geology. So
Roger.
it doesn't tend to be quite as straightforward a drive up a slope as we tend to say it is, because we're often just panning off in any direction to make sure that we're looking at all there is to see.
So here we have another octocoral. This is another icidid, but probably
like
different
ship
from
is
the
in
one we were
position.
last looking at, because this one is branched.
So how far is D2?
You can see some of the polyps are open and some are closed.
60 meters or something?
And there's also an
D2
anemone at
from
the base. Could we have a shot of that, please?
the top.
Shot of the base? Of
Yeah,
course.
there's an anemone down there.
You're 90 meters from the summit.
A little to the left. Yep. Brilliant. Thank you.
I'm starting to move to pilot, so
Okay.
get a little
So
more
yeah, you
slack
can
in
just
a
see a little
second.
actinarian or an enemy at the bottom.
Well, now let's call in another 40.
$70 sound good?
Great. Thank you, pilots.
Let's see. Yeah? Is that the way we're facing?
Okay.
You're welcome.
Bridge, this is RV Nav.
Yep. That's all I needed, though.
Go for bridge.
Yeah, I'd like to request a ship move, 40 meters, bearing 070, at a speed of 0.2 knots.
40 meters, bearing 070, 0.2 knots.
Thank you, Bridge.
You're welcome.
Co-pilot, after this shot, I'll push ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have plenty of time.
And so this is a stalked crinoid, which is a type of echinoderm, most closely related to sea stars, brittle stars,
Okay,
sea
video. Pretty
cucumbers,
zoom.
otherwise known as asteroids, ophiuroids,
Coming left.
holothurians, and also sea urchins, echinoids. And there's also what looks like a
Okay,
sponge in the background.
Center the head. I'll zoom in
sure.
further.
I was distracted where my skid was scraping the dirt. It's turning orange.
It's
I'll get that
interesting.
after, yeah.
Great, thank you, pilots.
Okay. Would you like me to tilt up?
Maybe just slightly to the left.
Okay. a little bit dynamic.
I love motion shots. This is great.
Okay, are you good?
Yes.
So watch lead, I noticed when I
Thank you,
set my
bud.
skid down, everything below this gray sediment is kind of orange.
Oh,
I'll
really?
just back up to show you that.
Oh, yeah. So, oh, there we go. Now we can see it on the main screen. So, when we kicked up a little bit of dust from imaging that piece of biology that I'm not sure what it was, you can see that the sediment actually
maybe like
is
2
orange
minutes max.
underneath this layer of volcanic plastics. So that does, again, give us an indication that maybe there has been hydrothermal activity here. It could have been in the past. It doesn't necessarily have to be active. But
Okay, I'll move on.
we're going to keep trying to see what we can find. And
080.
pilots, if you can sort of keep following this, these sort of larger pieces of rock.
Sure.
But we are, as you know, trying to just attain the summit of this little high.
It's possible maybe some of the black coating that we're seeing on the talus rocks and also on the sediment
Halfway through the
maybe a
move.
manganese coating,
Nice.
and
The ship,
rover
that is.
sat down and disturbed it so that we could see the true color of the
Pilot,
sediment
we're shallow
underneath.
enough that
Yep,
we don't
and
need
you're
to keep
and Mary
hydraulics
Jo,
on, right?
Yeah,
you
that's
may have
correct.
actually hit on something
That's
really
more
important, because
5
we didn't
below,
talk a lot
5
about
below.
manganese crust on the dive we did yesterday, but both of the rocks that we collected, beautiful, beautiful pillow basalt samples from yesterday, were both pretty heavily encrusted with a manganese crust. And almost every
Quick
rock
zoom
that we
on this
picked up
orange
on these
thing video.
dives so far has had a
Absolutely.
manganese crust on it.
Okay, hold there.
Well, that's really interesting.
A bit
Yeah.
of orange rock.
Stuck
Ooh.
one rock, and Patty had made a comment that she thought maybe there was glass, and I hesitated a little bit for just this reason. It's hard to know from the video feed whether that shiny black
Okay,
is a
if you're
manganese
clear,
coat or
we're
glass,
happy.
a preserved glassy rind.
Yep.
Interesting to know that it's manganese. It
And,
says
and
something about the amount of time it spent it erupted on the seafloor.
Yep, and interestingly enough, I actually think
Co-pilot,
we have a
can you
rock that
maybe,
has both. Because
squeeze
one
the
of the
drawer
rocks
in
we
and the
picked up
sliders
yesterday,
out?
not only it does have a
They're
manganese
creeping into
crust,
the camera view.
but it appears to have some flow structure on the inside, and I think we might be able to get a little bit of glass off of that.
Closing drawer.
So
Thank you.
I do think there might actually be a little bit of glass on that.
Stowaway going out.
Get 2 for the price of 1.
Cool, that's
Portland
great.
going out.
Actually, Mary Jo, now that we're talking about this. Oh,
They're
hey, Patty.
creeping.
That was great, Mary Jo.
That port wing seems to creep in more.
More than the other?
Yeah.
The float structure you see on the underside
Drawer creeps.
of
Did you say the
the,
drawer creeps the most?
the pillow
Well,
fragments
it's
that
tough
are
to say
really
because we always
thin
bring the drawer out a little bit.
because there's a lot of
That's
gas.
true. Oh yeah, so it never come in.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to, I
Will
don't know,
cause melting of the
what an accurate
exposed surface
distance on that.
of the crust on the underside. So sometimes you even see little tiny stalactites. that
Yep.
you can see
About 5 meters left in the ship move.
Great.
surface that kind of drip will flow beneath it.
Just coming
Yep,
up.
and that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like there were some, sort of hanging, not quite drips, but definitely some little pieces hanging down. And so I think we got some really amazing pillow basalts yesterday. In addition to that one that had sort of the little flow structure, the other one
So the
on
ship
the outside
just
had some
stopped?
ropey flow texture as well. So beautiful rocks yesterday.
Almost there. Still
Okay.
moving a little bit.
So that will be our last move, probably.
Hopefully we'll be able to pick up some rocks that are equally as intriguing today.
So watch lead, we're approaching the kind of edge of the top.
Okay.
I'm guessing these steeper, larger rocks might mark that.
Yeah, we're definitely
Geology.
getting into bigger blocks, and that one's
Video
probably
switching
intact.
High pack has D2 60 meters from the summit.
Great. So it looks like we're about.
Sure looks like a tarp area. What do you think, Mary Jo or Bob?
Sorry, say it again. Patty. I missed the description. Something area.
I said target rich. And maybe we should pick up a rock.
You think here, Patty?
Hey. I think one thing, just thinking about manganese coatings, one way to understand or guess whether you have a volcanoclastic rock that is sort of sedimented together is look at how much what looks like a solid rock, whether the surface is sort of parallel to the dip slope of the field.
Pilot, can you pan to
Some
the
of this
left?
stuff looks like what looks like a hard rock surface and dip slope is parallel to the slope of the field we're moving up, which maybe they might be like muddy or volcanoclastic rock.
Sure, I'll get a little closer.
If the rover got a handle on it. But it might be worth a try.
Okay, video, you want to zoom here? That's good. I just wanted to see.
So we just keep getting these little hints, tantalizing hints that
I'll just
we may be looking at areas that had hydrothermal activity in the past.
Scan along this.
That is interesting looking. Okay, great. Thank you, Pilot.
You're welcome.
Hey, Pilot.
Co-pilot. Well, we've brought you almost to the top of this feature. There's a lot of this potential venting residue, but we haven't seen anything active yet.
Copy that.
And then I'll brief Pilot 2 what the plan is. Then we jump off into blue water to get back to the bottom, and then you have another cone to go up.
Okay. It's not all that far, is it?
No.
Back down to the bottom.
Okay, video. You can go ahead.
Look at that.
Have we sat down and looked extremely tight at that staining?
Yeah, that's what we did when we first got to the bottom.
So I believe we're like less than 60 meters from the top of this local high that we're exploring. So far we've seen some tantalizing evidence that maybe there's been hydrothermal activity. We've seen some volcanoclastic sediments. We've seen a lot of talus. And we're just trying to figure out what we might be seeing as we move towards the summit.
So do we probably want to give it another ship move soon? I was just curious your opinion before I... Yeah. Pilot, you think another ship move?
We'll just take a look at where I am right now.
RV nav, we have arrived on station.
Thank you, Bridge.
So I think we're just waiting here for a little bit while we have another ship move so that we can attain the summit. Yeah, that really looks hydrothermal to me.
I agree, Deb. Looks like this whole area has a lot of staining from whatever fluids might have been coming out of the seafloor right in those
So
cracks.
depth 2,300.
And Patty, I'm not sure if you were here when
Yeah, when co-pilot's comfortable, we can
we
move.
kind of pushed the skids a little bit into
I
the
think I'm
sediment
okay with
and
that right
found
now.
that even under this sediment that doesn't look hydrothermal, there was more
Okay,
orange
so
material.
if we keep moving the direction you're facing, what we've been moving is 070.
Yeah, that sounds like maybe this
That looks good to me.
I think then we'll come. Well, I'm not sure whether they came up with this waypoint as just the middle of this isobath or whether there's some other reason. I think it's right, but we would to get there we'd need to go more like 100 or 101.
Thanks,
Maybe
Patty.
split the difference.
Seeing something here. Let's see what this
Nav
is.
watch lead.
Go ahead, Nav. Watch lead.
I think that I think you're right. I don't know that we need to necessarily hit the exact waypoint. I think we just want to
keep
wander
going uphill.
around on the
Yeah.
summit a little bit, look
Yeah.
around once or twice, and then I think we want to, if we don't find anything different, I
Yeah.
think we'll want to move on.
Right. Understood.
So,
It's just a question. We don't really know what direction the summit is from here.
Exactly.
well, Nav, before you call that in, I'm coming up a little bit. I do have a return slightly to my port.
Slightly
So it looks
to-
like it's
on center.
Okay.
Slopes.
So maybe.
So this is
So maybe 070 again.
Well, this is a ridge right here.
So this is one of the fun pieces about exploration. The bathymetry that we have is always much coarser than the differences in depth and the local relief that we see on the seafloor.
Yeah, I'd say 060.
So
Or
when we're looking at the bathymetry, it looks like a big flat spot right now.
I'm good with that.
And I think we can tell from the video that we're not really on a big flat spot right now.
Yeah, there you can start to see that now, Josh, coming up.
Okay, it's not that far actually.
Yeah.
We might even be swinging that far.
Can you bring my upper? Can you deploy my upper swing arms a little bit?
Patty, could I ask
Sure,
you to try to
they
get closer
are
to
deployed.
Yeah.
the speaker
just
or the
put 'em
conference
away.
I
line?
guess I would suggest we do another 20 meters at 060, say.
Can we zoom in on
Just
all
to
that
keep
stuff
us
at the
moving a little
top,
bit
please?
more.
I'm good with that.
Otherwise, we're going to come into a halt.
I'm good with that now.
Oh, look at this.
Sound good, Josh? Pilot, whoever you are.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm looking at.
Yes! This is amazing. We're very excited here.
I think you
in the
found
control room.
something the scientists like.
You totally called it. This is awesome.
Well,
Maybe we should not move right now.
yeah.
Apologies to everybody.
Yeah, that we just
Steph,
screamed.
Or-
Yeah, we're so sorry.
Here,
Oh, so please pan to the left.
Oh my god, how beautiful.
You think I need
Look at those
Can we zoom
perfect
in?
little chimneys
They
on the
are, they're
side.
so cute.
All right, come on in, video.
You're welcome, pilot.
I'm gonna try to get a little closer.
Look at these guys.
okay, your swing arms are
How
out.
pretty they are.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're in the middle of the floor.
This is a really bad time for it to have broken up.
Nav, actually, I would give us a bump in, maybe
Oh, wow.
15 meters, 050. I'm lined up with him now. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm not sure we aren't still
Can we
moving
get
though,
that view
because
Okay.
the ship move's only
the
been done for
quad plane or
5
on
minutes
the
or something.
second stream by
Okay.
any chance? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, we'll maybe give it 5 minutes then. Let him, sounds good.
Yeah, push down.
Hey, video?
Can we just zoom quickly on that cream-colored incrustation?
Come on in, video.
Can we
Please.
maybe switch the second screen to the one that shows the two rock boxes that's in the top?
Okay, so look, there's an internal view of the chimneys. Our
my God.
comms are terrible with UH right now.
This is neat.
Do you think we should sample one of the tops of these chimneys?
I think we could. So one of the questions from the shore-based science team was, do we see any shimmering water?
No.
And at the moment, I totally don't. I don't
If
know
we
that
did,
any
I
of
would
this is
have
alive.
definitely pointed that out already.
But I would be happy to take a sample here. I think any of us would be happy.
Maybe
to
we
take a sample
should.
here.
Maybe we should look around the
We totally
spire
can.
Come on
and
out,
then
video.
Yeah,
take a
let's do
sample.
it if we can rotate around. Oh my God, this is fantastic. So
And if we could also
excited.
get a little bit further up as well later on. We don't have to do it right now, but let's just kind of do like a swirl around the chimney going upwards.
That's a little hard from a tether management standpoint, I think. I think we kind of have to roll around like
I
in one way
would,
and then
I
the
would
other.
go ahead and get us in a little closer.
Maybe it is time to bring the 20 meters.
So sorry
Yeah,
for all the noise
050?
here at
Yeah,
UH.
I'm lined up
there
with
was
it
such
now.
a commotion here, and we saw those chimneys that people next door came in to see what was going on, and we were explaining to them what they were seeing.
Bridge nav.
Go for bridge.
I'd like to do a move, please. 20 meters,
This is
bearing
great.
050, 0.2 knots.
It's a little quieter here in Hawaii
0
right now.
meters, bearing
I actually wonder if we were to
050.2
go
knots.
up
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was you're getting written over. The distance is 20 meters.
20 meters, bearing 050.2 knots.
Perfect. Good copy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is everybody okay in there? We heard screaming over the line.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think you better send an emergency team. No, I didn't say that.
I think that we're going to just try to do some imaging around here, take a look, just wander back and forth, and really get to see this.
Yeah.
We are all very, very excited. Even though this doesn't look like there's activity, it's still great.
To help you out, pilot, your sonar is at 10 meters. I brought it in.
Copy.
All four swing arms are out.
So we're looking at
We might want to bring the
extinct
upper ones in.
chimneys right now, because we think they're extinct. We haven't seen anything that would tell us that we think they're alive. And hydrothermal chimneys form basically when
coming in.
Cold water permeates the rock and begins to interact with molten lava or molten magma in the subsurface. That seawater gets hotter and hotter, and it exchanges minerals with the rocks in the subsurface. And eventually, between the changing mineralization, so the minerals it picks up, the minerals it drops off, and the changing temperature, it actually becomes buoyant again. And as it becomes buoyant, it then moves upward back through the rock and comes out at the surface. And when it comes out at the surface, it immediately hits that super cold seawater. So now we're talking hot, changed, chemical-rich fluid hitting that cold seawater.
What's the temperature difference?
It can be hundreds of degrees.
And
hundreds of degrees C.
Deepwater ocean water is about 2 degrees centigrade.
And we're talking fluids that could be 400 degrees C. And as soon as that happens, it basically goes, and it drops all of those minerals that it picked up in the subsurface, creating these chimneys. And then eventually what it does is it sort of begins to build a chimney, and it armors itself from the inside. And so on some chimneys, you see undifferentiated minerals, sort of a big blobby thing of minerals, and diffuse venting. And on others, they armor themselves, and they end up with a big central core that can have layers of different types of minerals as it grows outwards. So we would like, eventually we'll like to pick up a sample so that we can see what kinds of minerals are here.
Let's get this.
And that sort of flange.
That's totally a flange.
Yep.
So if this had been active, you'd actually see hydrothermal fluids underneath that flange.
So this is a Bathysaurus mollis, just to interject, which is a lizardfish. No, that's fine. That's all I want to say.
Sorry, fish
We
people.
can go back to the vents.
No, that's beautiful. We can have a moment there. It's beautiful.
You're just going to get them before I
don't think I've ever seen one swimming, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
What are they normally doing?
Just rest on the seafloor?
Bruce?
I was just going to say the same thing. Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. It's highly unusual to see one of these up in the water column. They are sitting on the bottom, just like shallow water lizardfish, which they're distantly related. But yeah, this one's swimming up. It's also in this very rocky area, this volcano chimney. And usually you see these on soft sediments on flat bottom. So this is a documentation of a very unusual behavior for this fish. Some of these bottom-living fish are thought to get a lot of their food energy from things in mid-water. The rat tails, for example, will swim up into the water column. But I don't know if that's been documented for Bathysaurus. So thank you for getting those images.
You are welcome.
Okay, but let's continue up this spire chimney.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things, pilots, that we might ask you for towards the end is how big, like how tall this set of chimneys, set of spires is.
Yeah, copy that. We'll get a depth at the top and then come back down to the bottom.
Okay. Wow, this is really flangy. Look at that.
So Scott was saying, because we've seen a couple corals growing on the along the edges of this structure, there may not be
nav bridge
active
move
venting.
completed.
On the along the edges of this structure, there may not be
nav bridge
active
move
venting.
completed.
No, I don't think there. I mean, I'm not
Thank
sure,
you,
but I
Bridge.
don't think there's active venting here because I think we would have seen something by now.
Yeah.
But that does not decrease the excitement in the room.
These flanges are just beautiful.
They are. They're fantastic. Patty, Mary Jo, does anybody want to add anything about what we're seeing or how these spires are formed?
Sure. I just put a little post on the chat. One thing is that there are very few animals on these live things crawling around. So I don't think this is active. But yeah, flanges form and
Yep,
grow
good.
out. And what happens?
Yeah,
is
Pilot,
that
before you get too
fluid
far
come
over
out
there, I'd like to
from
just see
underneath
where the top of this is.
flanges
Copy that.
and percolate up around the
Copy.
edges of it. If the flanges
And
are
my
porous,
lower swing arms,
fluid
if they're
can leak
inboard at all,
through,
can you bring them
and that way
outboard?
you get
Outboard,
sort of
copy.
what looks like grip tassels, sand
Are you
grip
talking
tassels
rotation or
that they make
deployment?
at the beach.
Rotation.
Copy.
And these are just growth features as
We will
fluid
double
goes
check.
through pores on some of the flanges that begin to form on the edges of the structure.
Thanks, Patty. Yeah, this is, it's really interesting because, different vent sites globally have very different morphologies. And so in some areas you tend to see these very, tall, slender chimneys. In some areas they're more bulbous.
shot from
This
Sirius.
one looks like when it was
Sirius
active,
video?
it was a little bit more bulbous and it had a lot more
See if I can
flanges,
come up
which
and
is
look
not
down,
always
maybe.
the case. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, there's the top. Okay, good.
And because this is
Makes me feel better.
projected so far up into the water column, you can see it's got all these suspension feeders around it. Crinoids, octocorals, potentially a brisingid, sea star, another suspension feeders.
And Nav will
Hopefully
want to
later
drop
on
a target
during
here
this
if you haven't
expedition,
already.
we'll dive on some active hydrothermal vents, so you'll see similar structures, but with a totally different biology on them.
Okay, you're outboard,
And
Josh.
so these suspension feeders
Yeah, I'm
would
just
not
getting a
be
lot of
on this
flares,
structure if
that's
they
why.
were if this
Yeah,
was an
understood.
active
Are the-
hydrothermal
the upper is
vent,
all the way up?
right, Diva?
They
Exactly.
are, yeah.
So they would be a completely different
Co-pilot, should I
assemblage
give
of
that a
fauna.
name?
These
Yeah,
are
just something.
just suspension feeding
so we can
animals
come
that
back
are
to it.
not related
Top of
to
spire.
Yeah.
hydrothermal
Yeah,
vent communities,
exactly.
essentially. They're just taking advantage of this high structure projecting up into the water column.
Yep.
I'm going to take your mini Zeus and then double check the swing arms for you, Josh.
Yeah, no, they look all the way up. I can see them.
Ah, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, you can see a beautiful brisingid just on the top,
Can you come
sort
wide
of
on
in
Sirius?
the best possible position that he could get himself into, apart from maybe that one little spire further up. Maybe
Copy.
he's on his way there.
Video, are you streaming mini Zeus or one of the manip cams?
It's one of the manip camps.
Ah, copy. Thanks.
Just come in on the sea star.
So this is just amazing. I mean, even without activity, these guys are just so
Dramatic.
beautiful. Yeah, they're just fantastic. And look behind the brisingid. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. So look behind that, and it looks like there's a piece that's fallen off, so you can kind of actually see the interior of the chimney.
Come out just a little
So
bit.
this brisingid is,
Yeah.
Holding partial.
I think it's a brisinga, is the genus.
Brisinga.
Yeah.
Wait, when I said that yesterday, you told me I was wrong.
But that's because it was wrong then.
Geologist should stick to what she knows.
And that's because they've got a huge number of arms, well over 10.
This is it's a pretty big organism. Are they always that big?
Yeah, brisingids do get very big. So
Co-pilot,
this one,
can
I
you
mean,
note my
from tip
depth
to
here?
tip of an arm, it would easily be
Affirmative.
40,
Noting
50.
it.
No.
Oh, well, from tip to tip across,
Yeah,
you
so
mean.
like
Yeah.
40 to 50 centimeters.
Video, when we're done imaging this, if we could go and, or pilot, if we could go and look at that broken open vent chimney that's behind it, that would be great.
Good. Stand by.
Noting depth.
So it's just incredible when you do see the internal structures of these vents.
Come on
that,
in video.
they're just so laden with metals and minerals that you actually see it's shining in layers of
Not
of
always.
those metals.
Yeah,
come on in tight.
sometimes when you see one that's